Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2020 Ford Ranger, we're going to be taking a look at the Roadmaster Nighthawk tow bar. So when it comes to choosing a tow bar, it's a pretty important decision, and things can get kind of confusing. There's just so many different options out there. It can be quite difficult to pick the right one. So when it comes to choosing a tow bar, I kind of like to break things down into three different categories, if you will. First one being, how's it going to work? Is it going to do a good job of pulling your vehicle down the road? You know, how are you going to live with it, more or less? How's it going to feel? The next category is the ease of use. Is it going to be user-friendly, easy to hook up and maneuver, and so on? And the third category is kind of just the basics, you know, the weight capacities, what it's made from, what it comes with, and etc. But with all that being said, let's kind of go ahead and break those categories down a little bit and figure out if this would be the tow bar for you. How is it going to pull your Ranger down the road? And actually, I took our setup out for a spin earlier, and I'll say I'm really impressed actually. It went around some tight turns very nicely and just responded well, if that makes sense. And I pretty much hear the same thing from all of our customers that have this tow bar. Everyone's really impressed with it, and I think it does a great job, partly because the overall length of it. It's relatively long, and generally speaking, the more distance you have in between your motorhome and your towed vehicle, the better. It's going to be easier to kind of get around those tight turns, or maybe you go to a gas station to kind of work through the pumps and everything else. So now we can kind of talk about the ease of use. And I will say this is where this tow bar really shines. It's going to be super user-friendly. It's going to have a lot of cool features that make hooking it up and disconnecting it very straightforward. I will say one of the most important features is the fact that this is non-binding. So what I mean by that is, say once you get to your destination, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be on perfectly level ground, and the arms are going to be locked into position. And if you've ever had to deal with trying to undo a tow bar that's locked like that, it's really difficult. Something you don't want to mess with. And in this case, it's not going to be that big of a deal. If the arms are locked or in a bind, all you're going to have to do is pull up on the levers. So pull these up, it'll release all that tension and make it super easy to disconnect from the base plate. So speaking of getting disconnected, super easy. This is a direct connect, so all we're gonna have to do is remove this pin as well as this one, and then obviously take off your other components. And it's gonna be just as easy to hook up. Particularly this one, this tow bar is extremely lightweight, so it's not gonna take a whole lot of effort to kind of hold it where you need it and get everything lined up. So this lines up with the base plate, put the pin through, take this pin, put it in place there, hook up the rest of your components, and you're good to go. Now this tow bar does work with most Roadmaster base plates, and it'll also work with other base plates if you use an adapter, which is available here at eTrailer. So now let's kind of talk about some of the basics and what the tow bar is going to come with. And this portion actually really impresses me. It comes with a lot of cool things. First thing being, the tow bar, the main portion, is going to be made from aluminum. So it's super lightweight and easy to handle, which is very important. But that doesn't mean that it isn't strong. It's going to have an 8,000 pound weight capacity. So really heavy duty and more than enough to pull your Ranger down the road. Another thing that kind of separates this one from some of the others is this cool light strip, this LED light strip on each side of the tow bar. Kind of throws off some light and lets motorists know that something's going on here at nighttime. You know, there's something in between your vehicle and your motorhome. So just help you keep you a little more safe. The tow bar is also going to come with a lot of different things. It's going to come with this wiring here, your safety cables, as well as the connector plug. So that eliminates you needing to source other parts individually. You know these are going to work with this setup. You know the cable's going to be long enough, you know your safety cables are going to be appropriately sized as far as the length and weight capacity goes, and so on. So all around, just a great package. This is also going to have a really cool finish. I mean, this is top notch here in my opinion. It's a powder coat finish, and it's so thick it almost feels like it's dipped in plastic almost, if that makes sense. But it's not. You know, it's that powder coating, very thick, and this should stay looking good for a long time. It's also going to be super easy to store whenever you're not hooked up to your Ranger. So what you can do is actually just keep it on the back of your motorhome. So this lifts up and locks into place, and you can fold it down to one side or the other, whichever is better for you, and keep it back here like this. That way you don't have to pull it out every single time. Now I do suggest, if you plan on more or less permanently keeping it back here, just to use a locking hitch pin. That way it'll be secure, as well as a bag or a cover that'll go over the tow bar, kind of giving an extra layer of protection and help keep the weather off it. So there's going to be 5 main components that you're going to need to flat tow your Ranger down the road safely. First one's going to be your base plate, and that base plate's going to provide us with a solid and reliable connection point. That way we can hook up our tow bar. A tow bar is going to be that second component, and this is going to be that physical link that connects the front of your Ranger to the back of your motorhome. The third main component is going to be safety cables, and those are there in the event of an unlikely disconnect. These are going to keep everything connected to each other. The fourth main component is going to be tow bar wiring, and the wiring is going to transfer the lighting signals from the back of your motorhome to the back of your Ranger. That way it'll keep you safe and legal. And last but not least is a braking system. And what the braking system is going to do is apply the brakes in your Ranger whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome, and that's going to help bring you to a more predictable stop. And there is just a couple more things I would suggest using in conjunction with those 5 main components, just to make your overall experience that much better. One of them is what's called a brake light relay. And I recommend that because with these Rangers, let's say if you have on your turn signal and you hit the brakes at the same time, with the Rangers, what's going to happen is the turn signal flashing on the back of your truck is going to be overridden by the motorhome's brake signal. So people aren't going to know kind of what's going on. They're going to see the brake lights on the Ranger and potentially your turn signal on the motorhome, and things kind of just can get confusing that way. Another component is what's called a charge line. And what that's going to do is more or less kind of trickle charge or maintain your Ranger's battery whenever you're flat towing it. And that's because a lot of these braking systems use the Ranger's battery power. So by using a charge line, you're going to avoid potentially having a drained or dead battery whenever you go to disconnect and drive your truck around. So at the end of the day, a top-notch tow bar that's not only one of my favorites, but many of our customers as well, and you definitely won't be disappointed with it. And that'll finish up our look at of the Roadmaster Nighthawk Tow Bar on our 2020 Ford Ranger.